Welcome to the Gen Z Journey, where we work with you through an entrepreneurial lens to build a wholesome perspective on life and build both our business and personal dreams together. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn at Gen Z Journey. So, hello and welcome to another Gen Z Journey podcast. You're joined today by myself, Aaron and Joe, and we're going to talk on the topic, the first topic in our personal development series, and it's going to be on the topic of personal development related to business development. And we are kind of starting this discussion, I would say. It's something that's kind of touched upon by a lot of people, but not really spoken in depth about. And I want to start discussion. I want people to start talking about it and talking about their experiences of kind of that personal development and then how it's related to their business. I think it would be really interesting for people to start to talk about. If you're watching us now, then you can see that I'm wearing a little crew neck, and it's the Cardiff Collective, which was Picken from 2 weeks ago. It's his fashion brand. This was shipped all the way from the UK. It's super comfy. I absolutely love it. I haven't stopped wearing it, even though it's like 30 degrees Celsius if you're listening in the UK and like 100 degrees Fahrenheit here if you're in the US. I've been wearing it each evening. I love it. So definitely go and check it out. I know he's sold out of these right now, but he's going to have some more coming soon. I'm sure of it. So yeah, definitely go and check him out. But without further ado, we'll get on to things. I wrote the article this week, so we're going to kind of have a switch of roles. Aaron is going to be hosting, and obviously Joe will be jumping in on the questions as he always does. But without further ado, Aaron, I'm going to pass things on to you, and we can get going with the questions.
Awesome. So same way Rio always does, we're going to start with the infamous question of what's your intention of this article?
Absolutely. So the intention behind this particle, the intention behind this article was really make people aware of how much of a personal journey kind of entrepreneurship and the whole business experience is. I'm not even scratching the surface of this stuff with kind of the podcast, and I'm starting to see it in my own life. And so I looked at other people like Joe, for example, as kind of mentors on that journey. And one thing that strikes me about all of the entrepreneurs that I meet, whatever kind of journey they're on, whether they're 30 years, whether they're 2 years into it, whatever it is, they all talk about this amazing journey that they've just been on as an individual, and the people that they've met who have also been on a journey. And for me, that's just so exciting. So I wanted to kind of highlight that in this article and discuss more of it. So that was my intention behind this one.
Yeah, so one of the first things that I saw obviously in your article was the quote from our previous guest Ron, and the quote is, "Entrepreneurship is one of the greatest journeys of self-discovery." So with that being said, what do you kind of define as that self-discovery?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question actually, because defining it is so important. So self-discovery for me, and I'd love to ask Joe on this one as well, because I know he'll have a great answer, but for me, the self-discovery is all about just kind of that mindfulness and the awareness of like the effects that things are having on you, right? So like working maybe like long hours on a business or something, what personal effect is that having on you? What are you finding out about yourself? Maybe you're realizing that you can like push through barriers of like tiredness that you had no idea that you could before. Before you just like, oh, I'm super tired, I need to go to bed, and like maybe one evening you push through that and you realize, oh, actually it's not that bad, I can get through. And then obviously then that correlates to like your business development of like, well, I can work harder on my business later into the evening or whatever it may be. So for me, that kind of self development is all about the mindfulness that you have towards kind of your life and the things that are going on.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you bring up that mindfulness because in the article you actually mentioned some of those big questions that are really bigger than yourself, of asking things like, what's your purpose in life, and what's the true meaning of my life, and what can I do to bring positivity to myself and other people. And so bringing up those questions brings about mindfulness when you self-reflect and you use that self-discovery to force yourself into thinking about those topics and then being able to to pretty much use those questions to find a way to get closer to reaching an answer. And you probably will never find an answer to it because it's ever evolving, as we continuously, or you continuously discuss in that article. So it's really important. And with that being said, what you mentioned some personal development techniques, and what you had a specific example about how you fought a specific obstacle. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So kind of again it stems from that mindfulness for sure. Like that's the number one in terms of technique, is just like being aware. But like some key things to practice, and actually things we'll be talking about over the next few weeks, which is kind of cool. But like meditation and journaling, that's a real big part of it, I think. Again, because it brings about mindfulness, right? So if you meditate, you bring about mindfulness about what's in your head, trying to get it out of your head and just focus on like just being calm and relaxed, and just kind of being in that zone. So that brings about mindfulness in that way. And then journaling for me brings about mindfulness in kind of what I've been doing, the routines that I'm creating, because a lot of the time we just fall into these kind of subconscious routines. We all do it, and sometimes they're healthy and sometimes they're not. So just giving that analysis on the daily, and weekly, or whatever works for you. I do weekly actually, and just kind of looking back over it is really helpful, and it helps you modify kind of for the next week, on the things that you're gonna try and do and achieve. And for me, one of the biggest things it's helped me with is just consistency of motivation. Like that's something I super struggled with. Like I'd have a week, I was so like motivated, I'd crush it for that week, and then the next week I'd like get burnt out, and I'd just be like, oh, I'm done, and I'd need to like kind of relax for 2 days to make up for that. So by like having that mindfulness and like realizing that, I develop techniques in different ways in which I can keep that consistent motivation, and therefore in the long term I'm much more effective, right? So that was my personal obstacle that I overcame, and something that then obviously directly related to business, with that. But yeah, that's kind of the only two techniques I have right now. But I know, Joe, you must be itching to talk about this, because your techniques you've been developing for years. So.
Both you guys, it's got the techniques. Let's wind back just a little bit, and I'm going to put a cap on this if I can. It's late at night. We're doing a recording. Would we be doing this if it wasn't for the business? So business pushes you up to a level, and then self-improvement follows that. Would we, more than likely, let's call a friend. Bet you they're watching TV. So what are we doing? We're pushing our personal development because of the work development. So you see how the two kind of go hand in hand? Right now, there isn't a better place that I'd rather be. I wouldn't want to be watching TV. I'm with my best two friends right now, and then it becomes a lifestyle. And what it automatically does is just keeps increasing personal development, because the business development is kind of ahead of the game, and you're trying to keep up with it. So by doing that, it's a fun journey. As I always say, for my journey, I don't know the difference between work and play. And then if you look at a lot of entrepreneurs, and they don't have to be, we won't use the word successful, but most entrepreneurs is the same way. They just engulf what they do, love what they do, and then again, I believe their personal development follows because of their business development, always trying to find not success, but a fulfillment.
And it's awesome that you say that, Joe, because I think it's Gen Z Journey is a perfect example of it. I mean, when I first started my half of Gen Z Journey, the idea behind it and the reason I started it was almost as a form of self-reflection of the knowledge that I had gained through college and just through my experience. And so I wanted to create a website where I could publish articles and share that to other people. And I had no intention really of turning it into business at that moment. And then when I met with Rio, we started doing more and more stuff, and I realized that it's not only something that I can use as self improvement and self development, but that I could push it beyond that and hopefully and eventually turn it into a business that actually brings in income. But that intention didn't come actually from me having a business idea or business thing that I wanted to do. It came from an idea of self improvement and self reflection, and it migrated towards being also business development. So that's awesome that you bring that up. And with that being said, I wanted to ask you, Rio, are there any other personal techniques other than that self-reflection that you can really think off the top of your head that you think coincide between self-development, like that personal development and business development?
Yeah, there's one more. Just before I get onto that, though, I wanted to say like such a good point from Joe there, like huge point, because actually something I'd never thought of and like just occurred to me now is you're so right, Joe. Like that accountability of like business, really helping you on your personal, like they complement each other. I think that's a beautiful way of actually describing it. Maybe I might have to add that to the article. Who knows? But yeah, no. But it's so true. It's like there's not one leading the other. It's like they're bettering each other, and like the business is bettering you at the same time that you bettering yourself is bettering the business. It's like it's a weird interplay that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. And in answer to your question, Aaron, about techniques, I think the only other technique I would say in kind of that personal development journey is again very heavily related to the business side of things, and it's something we discuss about a lot, and it's the people you surround yourself with. That's been really key on that personal journey. Like as we meet people, particularly with the podcast and stuff, and I particularly gel with them, I understand their mindset, and they can help better me. I always seek counsel from those people, and that's kind of another topic for another time. But definitely the people I surround myself with really helps that personal development and therefore the business development, and vice versa. There's a lot of business people that I surround myself with that can directly help me with business, but then like inadvertently that helps me with personal development as well. So the people I surround myself with, journaling and meditation, I would say they are the three real things that help bring about that kind of awareness, mindfulness related to business, that really helps on this kind of personal development journey that you go on.
Yeah. And I actually think, I'm not going to throw you under the bus. Well, I kind of am. But, I think the reason that it's so hard for you to actually answer this question is because they coincide and they're so interlinked that everything that you do with your self-development and those techniques that you use in your everyday life, whether that be setting up a routine or meditation or that self-reflection, it all goes into business development as well. So it's very hard to answer when you realize that literally everything you do in your daily life will reflect both your personal and business development. So there's nothing that doesn't really interlink in one way or another. So all those techniques that you use in your personal life can in one way or another go into business, and same with the business techniques can really go into that self-reflection and that self-development. And the reason is, you think about anything, you think about business finance, you can move that into your personal finances. You think about, again, that routine, you can move that into learning how to do a routine for your business. You think about, the activities you do in your everyday life, or the friends you surround yourself, is the same thing as the people you network with and the business partners you approach and the affiliations you make. So there's always a connection in all those techniques, and so everything you do is just part of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly, and that's like you're absolutely right, Aaron. And I think that's just because it's so clear that like business to me is just like the study of life. Like there's so much like psychology, sociology in it. There's so much science in terms of like just the biology of people, the chemistry of how like of chemicals release when we, like, for example, in marketing, like different colors, what that, there's so much in business that it's like, for me, it's just a study of life, and being aware about life makes you more aware about business, and yeah, so there's so many parts to business. So documenting that business journey and documenting that personal journey, like we said before, they're just so interlinked. For me, it's just so key. And I know Joe absolutely believes this. He's and that's the great thing about Joe as well. Like he's always telling me about his personal journey and his business journey, and like how that is affecting both. And like just hearing that stuff is so much fun to talk about when you can find people on that journey, I would say.
And that's exactly why we define Gen Z journey not as an entrepreneurship or some kind of business. It's an entrepreneurial lifestyle. It's the way you live life.
And I'm going to interrupt here because I just got to say it for the record. I am so proud of you two. You guys are awesome. And, you know, to be able to experience this is just really, really cool. Just really cool. And that's way off the script. Anybody can look. That wasn't. and we're still within our time limit.
With that comment, how about you tell us what you believe is the most significant part of using this personal development and business development in your life?
You know, when you use it right, I think the most important thing, because people say, oh, business, I always say, you know, treat your life like a business. And people will question me and they go like, no. I cut the line. When work is work and play is play. Well, if I treat Rio like the #1 customer, oh my gosh, he'll be a friend for life if I always treat him that way. So I don't, you know, I'll get questioned on it, and no, I don't believe in that. I believe in the two. So I would say practice good business, and you practice good business, you have good morals for that, you have good morals for your life. So, and by that, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong.
And something on that
Pretty
actually as well
simple.
about that kind of like amalgamation of the two is like some people can suggest that's quite toxic, you know, because if business and life is like no different, then like when does work stop? And it's like, well, work is always, because I love it, you know. And that's
Right.
the thing Joe brings about. It's like he doesn't know the difference between work or play, like, because it's doing business is play and fun to him, you know.
Yep.
And of course we all need to relax and switch off 100%, but like that work and play is just a mix. And from my personal experience, I'll share something from my kind of like business journey. For a long time, and this was particularly at the start of the podcast as well, I tried to keep like my kind of personal side of things and business side of things separate. Like, so I was doing podcast stuff. I would obviously, I'm friendly with Aaron, friendly with Joe, whatever. We would get on, we'd have a good time, and we'd do the podcast stuff. But then that was completely separate. Like, I wouldn't really talk about the podcast around like my friends. If I was talking to family or friends back in the UK on FaceTime, I wouldn't really mention it, or I wouldn't bring it up or anything. And for, like, this wasn't fitting with me, you know. It was like why am I trying to live these like not two separate lives, but like why am I separating it in my life? And it gets exhausting, honestly. It gets really exhausting trying to separate them, because it's like you're trying to avoid, you're like,
It's like two magnets.
Exactly, two magnets. They're like this, and you're trying to stop them from going. And so when I started to, and I was like telling people, yeah, I'm doing this podcast, like I'm really enjoying it, this is what we do, just those two magnets just crash together, and it's like, it's the best feeling. Like, it's so cool to be able to tell people, like, yeah, I do this podcast and it's great fun, we're doing great and we love what we do. Like, to tell people that is not only, number one, freeing for yourself, but secondly, it's like, it's freeing for them. They're attracted to, like, wow, that's awesome. Like, how can I listen, or how can I get involved, or that's where things really start getting fun and interesting. So
and that's actually what I was about to comment. You know, when you try and separate the two, you almost cut off your opportunities to, one, grow your business, and also grow your self-development. How are you ever going to move from one job to another, start one business idea and expand it, if you can't feel happy talking about it in your everyday life? If you can't bring it up to someone outside of your 8-hour workday or whatever, your 10-hour workday, then how are you ever going to make those connections? You miss out on so many people, you miss out on so many potential opportunities, and you know, you miss out on free marketing. You miss out on so many things related to your business when you try and separate them, because if you're really doing a business that you enjoy a lot, or you're really working a job that you enjoy a lot, you're going to want to talk about it outside of just your business hours, because it's something that you're passionate about. And bringing that passion into your personal life, even though it's about business, it still reflects who you are, and it reflects your desire to get what you want. And so it's really important that you can connect them. And yeah, it's also important, like you said, Rio, to take a break, because it can be exhausting also to always talk about both. And that's what things like meditation is for. I check myself out 20-30 minutes a day with meditation, and that's just living in the present, where I don't talk about business, I don't talk about anything. I just relax and kind of embrace myself. Or when I took that vacation a couple of weeks back, I had no connection to the outside world for 6 entire days, and it was great to have that moment to kind of rejuvenate myself. But it was like I was missing a part of me doing the podcast, or not being able to network, because that kind of stuff is me. It's what I've made to become me, because that's what I enjoy and that's what I like. And with that being said, I'm just gonna pass the lead back to Rio. I don't have any more finishing thoughts. I think we ended it pretty well. So, Rio, you want to close us out?
Yeah, well, as always, you can find the article in the link of this podcast. It was released yesterday on the Tuesday, so you had the kind of day to read it before you listen to us here chinwag about it. But yeah, just definitely go and check it out there. This podcast is on YouTube if you're listening to us. If you're here on YouTube, then you can see us already. Again, I wanted to put one final plug in. I'm wearing our guest's fashion brand from 2 weeks ago, Connor Pickens, the Cardiff Collective. Go and find yourself some. It's great stuff. And stay tuned for a guest podcast that we've got coming this Friday. So yeah, that's it. And I think we'll finish as we always do.
Cheers for now.